do I continue this 9-to-5 corporate job that I know is actually slowly making me quite depressed? I had to start from scratch all over again. I'm going to look like I'm going backwards in life. And that's the scariest thing, is to go, actually, the life I'm living right now is not my true life. It's fake. It's not fulfilling. It's not purposeful. I need to get rid of all of that. I started with like $500, trading XRP, Bitcoin and Ethereum, flipped that to like £5,000 worth of profit. As soon as I let go, took space and let the universe bring the things that was truly meant for me into my life, that's when I became aligned. The money came like no tomorrow. It became easy. I was working the least I've ever worked and made the most amount of money. And that was because I was in flow with life. I was letting the universe show me where I was meant to go and what I was meant to do, what my purpose was. No, you're not going backwards here. You're actually taking a step forwards and making the scary decision to start all over again.
Danielle Lukins, or aka Crypto Crush Show. Welcome to the Deeply Aligned podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to have you here. Obviously, we're going to speak a lot about crypto and such. But I figured that we start a little bit with the context on how you got into the space and maybe how life looked like before then, what you were doing, where you were living and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a funny story because I got into crypto at an ice cream shop.
An ice cream shop?
An ice cream shop, yeah. So I'll give you some context. I'm from a very, very small village in the northwest of the UK, not very much going on. And if you want a job, when you're 15, 16, there's this one place that you go to and it's the ice cream farm. And I got a job there when I was 16 and I started working there. And little did I know that I was going to be working next to someone who was an actual secret Amazon millionaire. And we became really, really good friends. And he knew that I was like super into like business, entrepreneurship. So we got on really well because he was doing Amazon FBA at the time. And he also had a load of Bitcoin. And he basically was like telling me, Danielle, you're really good at, entrepreneurship and you like tech, like you should get into crypto. And I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, just trust me, just buy some Bitcoin. This is when I'm like 16, 17 years old. I had to get my dad to open a Coinbase account because you couldn't even an account under the age of 18. So I had to convince my dad to buy this digital magic money.
Yeah, how did that pitch sound? Dad, suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, my dad is an entrepreneur himself, and he was into stocks and shares, and he's always been kind of trying to push me to get into stocks and shares. And when I came to him about digital money, crypto, he was like, I don't really get it, but you know what? Like, I trust you. Let's just do it. So I put like a couple $100 into Bitcoin. And this is right at the top of the market in 2018. So it ended up going pretty much down to nothing because it retraced 80% over the next like 2 years. But from that point, I'd really caught the bug of like understanding, okay, well, maybe there's something here. And then I ended up a year later going to a real estate conference down in London. And there's this really famous kind of YouTuber real estate guru called Samuel Leeds. And I went to one of his crash courses and me and my friend sat down next to these two guys and I just looked at their laptop and I was like, what is going on with their screen? They had the charts up with all the technical analysis and they were Forex traders. And then I was like, what are you doing? They were like, oh, I'm, trading currencies. I was like, can you make money from it? And they were like, yeah. I was like, can you show me? And then that was it. I ended up starting to, look into Forex, technical analysis, and did that for kind of a year whilst I was finishing up school and college. And then it got to a point where, COVID hit. I just started a new job in social media. So we all went working from home. And I'd been learning technical analysis for a while now. And then I started to think, okay, what's going to be the biggest opportunity here? The whole world is collapsing. Everyone thinks it's the end of the world. And I remember my business teacher telling me that when there's blood in the streets, that's when you need to get in. And I was like, this is probably one of those opportunities. So I thought, what's the quickest way that I believe I might be able to make some money? And I was like, well, why not I just put it into some crypto? So I basically just started piling money into crypto, started trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and this was right at the bottom of the market in 2020. And I started making money trading. Then I just put more money and more money and more money, and then just basically started to see my portfolio absolutely skyrocket over the next 6 months. And I was like, okay, this is serious. Like, I'm trading this, but I really need to understand what this technology is. And that's when I really did the deep dive into like, what's blockchain technology? What's decentralized finance? What are smart contracts? And I fell in love with it. I thought this industry is going to change the world. It's the next revolution of money. It's the next revolution of the banking industry. And that's when I went all in and I put my entire life savings into crypto. And that was in 2020 and never looked back since.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. It's one of those things, like the more we dig into the space and the more we go deep on it, the more we kind of get it of like, wow, this is the future.
100%.
But it takes a few hours before that happens, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to quote you here of paraphrasing, but do I stick to my boring corporate 9 to 5? That's making me sad. Or do I do the scary thing going off on my own, not knowing whether it's going to be successful or not? I'm so glad I did. It was the best decision I ever made, and I can't believe I didn't do it sooner. What's the context of that? And at what point, after looking into blockchain and all of this and understanding the whole space, did you go like, I'm leaving my 9 to 5, I'm leaving everything else, normal path behind, and I'm jumping into this fully?
Yeah. So after college, I got an apprenticeship as a social media assistant. And I love social media and I love marketing and I love systems and funnels and all that kind of stuff.
You're pretty good at it today, I would say.
Yeah. So, you know, I had a passion for it and I started working that 9 to 5 and I loved it. And I really did. For the first couple of years, I was learning a lot. I went from an intern to the head of media buying in like 18 months. We scaled the social media business from 3 people to like 20 plus people. And I was managing people at like 20 years old. It was super fun. But at the same time, I started to get into crypto and I started to learn about it and my portfolio started to look really nice. And I knew deep down, I was like, this is where my career is. This is where I really want to go. And it got to a point where I was at a junction of, do I continue this corporate 9 to 5, have this safety net? Like, I was a very comfortable salary. I had a nice car. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was in that comfortable zone, right, which is very difficult to get out of. But I knew deep down that I was being like caged in and I knew that I was meant for more and I had to cut ties. And it was the decision of, you know, do I continue this 9 to 5 corporate job that I know is actually slowly making me quite depressed? Because when you're in that comfortable zone, you kind of, you know, it's an interesting place to be. I started going out more and partying more and just like numbing. And I was like, I need to get out of this. This is not it for me. So it was that decision made where I was like, I'm going to have to put myself in a really uncomfortable position here, really uncomfortable. So I did very drastic things. One of them being getting rid of all my bad habits. So I stopped drinking, I stopped going out, I stopped partying. I just got rid of all toxic friendships, toxic relationships. And at that time I was in a toxic business partnership as well in the social media business. And I knew if I wanted to grow, if I wanted to start my own business, if I wanted to fly and be successful, I need to cut ties. So I made the very difficult decision to just cut it off. You know, take a step back, almost start from scratch. I had to start from scratch all over again. Because I think in society, at that point, I was a director. So it was like, oh, you know, if I just stop all of this, I'm going to go back to zero. I'm going to look like I'm going backwards in life. And it was trying to get over that limiting belief, being like, no, you're not going backwards here. You're actually taking a step forwards and making the scary decision to, you know, start all over again. And that's what I did. And I thought, what can I do that's going to be even more drastic? Oh, I'll just get a one-way ticket to Australia and never see any of my old life ever again and start completely fresh. So I started with a complete blank slate.
Crazy, yeah. It's like it's one of the patterns that I've been recognizing in people that I meet that I look up to, that they all seem to be able to reshape their identity at any given time. And many other people are afraid of changing their identity, right? Because they go like, well, I'm going to lose myself. Then I'm not going to be who I was before. But the fact is that the world is constantly changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Atoms, molecules, everything is changing all the time. So the question is, what do you want to keep on changing into? What do you want to keep on developing into? How do you want to keep on growing? And yeah, a great way to do so is to go to a new country and really change the environment.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, you build your space around the things that you surround yourself with. So your job, your family, your friends, your activities, your habits, etc. And what I realized is I'd built a life that wasn't actually fulfilling for me. From the outside, from society, that was the path, the corporate 9 to 5, the good job, the nice car, the nice house, But for me, I knew deep down that wasn't my life, and it's not the life that I ever wanted to live. So I had to get rid of that space. So I had to get rid of everything that was around me to then open up the space to let the things in that I truly wanted in my life. And that's the scariest thing, is to go, actually, the life I'm living right now is not my true life. It's fake. It's not fulfilling. It's not purposeful.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of all of that to then give myself the space to then fill it with the things that do fulfill me. And that's what I've been doing over the last, 12 months since I've kind of left the country.
It's 12 months ago only since you left the country.
Only 12 months, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been an insane transformation in 12 months. To the point where if I looked at myself now, a year ago, just everything about my life has completely changed, not just like from the outside, but the inside, the environment, the people that I surround myself with, the career that I have. I'm fully fulfilled. And it was done in such a short amount of time, which is just insane. I'd completely changed my life in 12 months.
Yeah. I applaud you.
Thank you.
What, we don't need to stay here for too long, but what are a few things that that came in as you open up space for that? You mentioned greater people, better friends. What are some other things that has positively contributed to your life quality these days, the last 12 months?
I guess the biggest thing, or the few biggest things, is the environment. Being in Bali has been an extreme transformation spiritually, but also, within myself. Gotta love the sun as well. The sun's great.
Better than UK.
Yeah, definitely
and Sweden.
better. I think it's the attitude that people have as well, and the types of people that are here.
Yeah.
People bring you up here. They don't tear you down. There's no tall poppy syndrome, keeping up with the Joneses. There's no societal rules or pressures or stresses. Oh, what car have you got? Oh, what job do you have? How much money do you make? None of that in Bali. There's none of that here. And that's really amazing, because then it gives you space to really chase the things that you truly believe in, and also surround yourself with people that, actually believe in you. All of my friends, I love them to death, and I believe in them so much, and I will support them. I would die for them. And that's just something that you just don't get in the UK.
Yeah. I couldn't say it better. The people around here supports you to be more deeply aligned.
100%. Yeah.
Really. I want to get into a little bit of, I'm always curious when it comes to like personalities tests, like 16 personalities or numerology, human design, astrology. Are you any aware of your own?
Yeah, I'm an ENFP.
ENFP. Yeah, interesting. Campaigner, yeah?
Yes, yeah. I believe so.
Gotcha.
I think that's quite an accurate representation of me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever done human design?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did human design like a few few weeks ago, I met a friend of mine, Alana, who I met at Luke Belmar's Capital Club event down in Bali, and she came up to Canggu and she did my human design. My God, I've never had a reading like that in my life. It's insanely accurate. Like,
it's insanely accurate. It's life-changing. It answers a lot of questions. Maybe not questions per se, but like it just adds up to how we have been behaving in our lives so far and what decisions we've been taking, how we've been feeling and stuff. It all gives insights to that. It's super fascinating. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's talk crypto maybe.
Okay, cool.
Crypto time. What did your journey look like? I mean, you described it a bit before, where you got into the crypto first time with a couple $100 and then things started growing rapidly there. But could you elaborate a bit more on like how or when it really took off with, I guess, your net worth and your portfolio?
I guess the first spike was probably between 19 and 20 years old. That was where I made my first six figures, and that was very quickly. That was within the first 6 months, and that was done through trading. So I think I started with like $500, put it into trading 2-on-2, didn't even know what I was doing. Started trading XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, flipped that to like £5,000 worth of profit. I actually have all the trades somewhere on my phone because like screen grabbed it of like every single trade that I took. I think there was about 70 or 80 trades that got me to that point. Then the FCA banned derivatives in the UK, so I had to sell all of my crypto and then move it into spot investing. So I bought like Cardano at 10 cents, like Ethereum at $400, and as you know, Cardano went to like $3, and then Ethereum went to like 4K. So I really started to just turn that money and make it work for me. And then on the flip side of that, I was also working a corporate 9-to-5 and I was making a decent salary. So every bit of savings I had was being plowed into the markets month on month on month until about January of 2021, where I realized, okay, we need to stop here. The risks rewards high, but let's just sit on it and just let it grow. And then that's where it kind of turned into the first six figures and started taking and slicing profits off the market that way. Then the bear market hit. Obviously, there's a lot of things that that people do or mistakes that people make. And, I made the same things where I didn't take enough profit, or, I bought NFTs that went to zero, or, I did a dodgy TGE deal and, things like that. So during the bear market, it was a lot of like learning lessons of, okay, here's how you survive a bear market. Here's how to preserve the capital. And here's how to continue to accumulate during the bear market. So that's what I did. I moved from, being more active in trading and investing, and I moved more into the corporate side of Web3. And I started working with crypto exchanges and doing their social media and their TikTok and things, taking the skills that I'd created in the Web2 environment and moving it over to Web3 so I could immerse myself in crypto as much as possible. And I did a lot in that space. I even got invited to Parliament in the UK to talk about, Web3, the metaverse, crypto. I was on BBC Radio 1 talking about crypto regulations, started my personal brand in the bear market and started creating content around crypto and educating and things like that. So kept me busy for a while to really start pushing and learning how to build a cash flow in business whilst the bear market was in. So then when the bull market started, I could transition into taking that cash flow, putting it into the crypto market. And then that's when my net worth really started to take off. And that's why the last 12 months has been insane because, the money that I had from the cash flow in business has been injected into the market. And then obviously I've just started recently mentoring and started this new program, which has gone absolutely insane. I'm now mentoring like 70, 80 people in the space. And that's really taken off. And again, the profit that we make from that, it goes straight into the markets. And now we're in a very good position that, when the bear market does hit, we're going to be able to turn that into a lot more money over the next 4 to 5 years.
Reminds me of, we're both familiar of Luke Belmore. He's always talking about creating wealth, multiplying wealth, and then preserving wealth.
Yes.
You seem to really have figured out the creating wealth part, but also the multiplying with crypto investing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Going forward now for the rest of this bull run, very personal question, but do you have an estimate of a range that you're aiming for personally with your portfolio? Is it a 5x? Is it a 10x? Is there anything else?
So I have just a different approach to most people. I don't set targets. And the reason why I don't set targets is because the market's going to do what the market's going to do. It doesn't care about my goals. It doesn't care about my expectations. So for me, I'm going to make sure that I pull profits out of the market dependent on what the markets is telling me. Mm-hmm. So, and that's good for a couple reasons. Number one, it means that there's no stress or pressure for me to be like, oh, I want to make, 10 million. And if I don't hit the goal, then I'm going to be sad. Like, there's none of that. It's just whatever I get out of the markets is whatever I'm going to get. And there's no expectation or pressure. And that's really great. So I can't give you an estimate of what, I'm expecting. I'd love to get 5, 10, 20x, whatever it is. But for me, I'm just going to look at the charts. I'm going to look at the data, and I'm going to make sure that I pull profits between January and October of 2025. And whatever I come out with, I'm happy, because whatever I come out with, I'm then going to use that money to generate more money over the bear market and then rinse and repeat for the next couple of cycles.
That's a great answer and a very mature perspective, I think. What are a few narratives, crypto narratives that you're mostly focused on at the moment or would recommend other people to take into consideration?
I'm really interested in decentralized finance. I love it, to be able to use these lending and borrowing protocols, to be able to use decentralized exchanges without intermediaries from banks. I just think the sector is flourishing and it's super, super interesting. And there's also a lot of data that I can gather from these DeFi products to be able to tell me whether a cryptocurrency is undervalued or not based on the market cap, the total value locked, and all of that data. So that really is great. And that's why I focus on that sector a lot. So I'm looking at lending and borrowing protocols on Solana, lending and borrowing protocols on Base, decentralized exchanges on Base and Solana, because those are the two ecosystems I think are going to do really well this cycle, along with Sui, which is being coined as the next Solana, looking at the DeFi ecosystems within them, because the way that the liquidity cycle works is you've obviously got Bitcoin, then Bitcoin gets cycled into Ethereum and Solana, then it gets cycled inside of those ecosystems. So I'm focusing on what's inside of the ecosystems. On top of that, another sector I'm really interested in is tokenization of real world assets. Really like that. I think, you've got Larry Fink, who runs BlackRock. BlackRock obviously owns the world's got $11 trillion worth of assets under management. They're talking about tokenization all the time. They're super bullish. They've got their own fund called Biddle now. So that's the future, I see, the tokenization of stocks, bonds, anything really. So that's why I'm really interested in projects like Ondo Finance, for example, that are doing a lot of stuff in tokenization right now. And then I guess the other sector that a lot of people are very interested in is AI. AI is huge. Obviously, NVIDIA's popped off. You've got AI GPU computing, things like Render, Tauber Tensor, things like that are really popping off right now, which is really interesting. But then you've got the subsection of AI agents, which is the new thing that everyone's very, very interested in at the moment. So that's a subsector that's currently popping off in crypto. So you not only have trends and narratives, but you've got subsections within those narratives as well that you've got to be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, to name drop a few, it's, let's say, the centralized exchanges here. We're talking the Jupiters, we're talking the Radiums, the Cetus, Camino.
Yes. Yeah. So I think my favorite projects at the moment, Aerodrome is obviously going to kill it with it being the main decentralized exchange on Base. It's owned by Coinbase, or affiliated with Coinbase, sorry. And Coinbase is obviously the number one, regulated crypto exchange in the world that all the beginners get onboarded to. So if they're going to use ETH or, any kind of layer 2, they're going to use Aerodrome. Camino, I think, is great. It's the leading lending and borrowing protocol on Solana. Solana hasn't had a run in DeFi yet. This is its first cycle. So the people that made loads of money on like Uniswap, PancakeSwap last cycle, I'm coining that the same thing's going to happen with the likes of the Solana ecosystem, and then obviously like Sui. So you've got obviously with Solana, Camino with lending and borrowing, then you've got Radium and Jupiter for the decentralized exchanges. And then if you look at Sui, for example, you've got Satus, which is the main decentralized exchange on there. I just found a new one actually about 24 hours ago called Morpho. It's brand new, 7 days old, 180 million market cap. It's got nearly $4 billion worth of value locked into its protocol. And that's a lending and borrowing protocol on Base ecosystem. So that's a new one that we're looking at the moment as well.
Nice. Love it.
Just give you all the alpha.
Exactly. Keep on going with the alpha. What about gaming as a narrative?
Yeah, I think gaming, it definitely will become a narrative. It's not in the forefront right now, but there's cycles. As you know, gaming only popped off the last quarter of the cryptocurrency cycle, last cycle.
Good to know from me, yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe this cycle, it might be similar. I think maybe like AI, RWA, DeFi is probably going to lead it, and then gaming will come a little bit later. So I really like Immutable X. I like Beam. I'm all into like infrastructure. I don't like investing in individual games. I think that's too much of a risk for me.
Hard to pick, yeah.
Yeah, so hard to pick. It doesn't make any sense to just invest in one individual game. But what I'd like to do is invest in the infrastructure that is going to provide the platforms where they're going to host multiple games. So Immutable X is like, the way I view it is kind of like Steam. If you're back in like the PC area, like that.
With Counter-Strike and stuff.
Yeah, CSGO, yeah. So that's the way that I kind of look at Immutable X. And then similarly to that Beam, they're very closely correlated. So those two are kind of the top two gaming projects that I like at the moment.
Yeah. Would you add Super to that a little bit further down on the risk curve?
Yeah, a little bit further down on the risk curve. I actually bought Super last cycle, and I still have it in my portfolio somewhere. So I do hold it. Obviously, we've got Elio Trades, the YouTuber that kind of created that project, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot to really make it a reputable project. So yeah, I think you could add that as a third one as well.
Yeah. Now, thanks for sharing all of this alpha. I'm sure people will value it and appreciate it. What does your research of a project look like? Like in a nutshell, if you give us the summary of the components that you're looking for.
Yeah. So obviously, first thing I do is, to find projects early, like early, before they've even come out.
Yeah.
So this is just some alpha for you. I go onto cryptofundraising.info, and then that gives me an understanding of what the latest projects are in terms of, what funding they're getting. Usually if a project's really well funded, it means that they're probably going to come out with a token soon, and that token's probably going to do well because it's backed by VCs and, et cetera, et cetera. So like Morpho, for example, that got $50 million worth of investment in August of 2024. So it's been on my radar since August, but it's only just come out of a token the last 7 days. So that's really good. And that's how I find projects before they've even, come out. Then when the project does come out with its token, it's all about looking at the analytics. So what's the market cap? What's the fully diluted valuation? How much value is locked inside of the project if it's a DeFi project? Then it's all about looking at the tokenomics, because tokenomics are really important. I don't think people understand how important it is. If you have really bad tokenomics as a project, I do not touch it, because you don't want, like Arbitrum has really bad tokenomics, for example. They're adding 4 times its supply onto the market in the next year. Yeah. Ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense to do
specify
that.
For people, like the vesting schedule you're talking about, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the vesting schedule. So that's really important to look at. Having a look at what percentage do the founders have? When are they vested for? How long for? If they're only vested for a year, that doesn't give me very long-term conviction that these guys are going to stick around for the project. If they're vested for 5 years, bit of a different story. Who are the strategic partners? Who are the, early investors? when do they get vested? How long? When do those tokens unlock? There's a lot of kind of things that go into it.
Yeah. It's a lot of it. That's what I'm trying to figure out myself, because I realize also, obviously, like distribution and marketing and then building community is a big part of if it's going to be a sustainable project or not, on top of the factors that you're mentioning here. Is there any way to think about like, to see how good are these guys at marketing, or how good are these guys at distributing content and attention? And
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different things. So you can use platforms like Luna Crush that can monitor a lot of that. There's also a lot of like AI platforms that are coming out in terms of monitoring how often a project is mentioned on Twitter. So that's a really interesting thing to look at. I think as well, like following reputable Twitter accounts that talk about, good, solid projects, if they're talking about them, and that seems to be really good. I always look at my Twitter followers. If I see a project and I see like the reputable people that are following that project, I'm like, oh, this might be a good project as well. So I do that quite a lot. And I do a lot of research in terms of looking at their Twitter, because 9 times out of 10, most of their Twitter accounts are botted, or they've done like a Galaxy campaign or a Crew Free campaign. They've botted it with a load of like fake engagement. And then after like 2 months after their launch, you look back at their engagement and it's like down the drain. That's a red flag for me. It's like, you want consistent engagement. You want consistent, consistency in terms of this project being talked about, consistent, partnerships, strategic partnerships, things like that, development. Like, what are they doing? Are they expanding to other blockchains? Are they connected with the right people? Are they raising money again? Lots of stuff like that. If I don't see a lot of activity, that to me means it's probably not going to be a long-term sustainable project.
Yeah, red flag, makes sense. How long will this bull run last? No one knows, of course. No one has a crystal ball, but what would be your educated guess?
At the moment, from what I'm seeing, we're about 1 month accelerated at the moment. So, if we looked at last cycle, we would probably be at the end of December 2020. And we peaked out, first local peak was around April and May. And the second local peak was around September, October. So for me, I'm looking at first local peak to be around March, April. And then the second local peak to be around September, I think, of 2025. So not too long left to go. That's why I'll be consistently taking profits between January and, October of 2025.
Yeah. So for anyone watching this the first couple of weeks in December, is it too late to get into crypto, or is it like, let's get going and get in?
You're definitely not early, but you're not late necessarily. You'll be getting in as prices start to grow. I mean, I'm seeing at the moment that an altcoin season has started. I can see the Bitcoin dominance is down considerably. Our target was 61.45% for Bitcoin dominance. It literally hit bang on 61.45% before it started to retrace back down and an altcoin season started. So we are in the middle of the start of an altcoin season. So you'll be buying during that period of time. However, you've probably still got another like 2, 3, 4 months of really good price action for altcoins. So I wouldn't be looking at buying Bitcoin right now. I'd be looking at buying altcoins as they start to grow and then slicing profits off the top around March and April.
I agree. It feels like also some people are talking about, even though a lot of altcoins are going upwards, many of them that's been around before hasn't even reached the all-time high, or not tapping into new price discovery. And when it's tapping into new price discovery, that's when it can still make 2, 3, 4x, depending on what kind of market cap and everything. So yeah, definitely, there's still a couple months left.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're only just getting started. Solana's only just about to break its all-time high. So Bitcoin's obviously in price discovery right now. So the risk to reward is much lower for Bitcoin. But you can still buy Solana. It hasn't broken all-time high. You can still buy, other altcoins that are yet to kind of break price discovery. I know Cardano's pumped quite a lot. It's up to $1 now, but the all-time high was $3. It's still got 2x before it even hits all-time high, you know?
What are the biggest mistakes many people make?
The biggest one is they just don't have an exit plan. I've coached like 70, 80 people now, and I think I've only had one person come into the group that actually has an exit plan planned out. So that's the biggest thing is you need an exit plan or some kind of guidance or guidelines of like where you should be taking profits. Because if you don't have a plan, then how can you exit? There's too much noise in this space. There's too much hype and hopium that you're going to get distracted by. And if you don't have a plan and you don't execute on that plan, you're going to be left holding the bag because it happens every single time.
It's a lot of greed and fear and emotional chaos.
Emotional chaos. And I think what I'm really good at is I'm very good at taking the emotions out of the markets. I'm very sort of logical and stringent when it comes to crypto. I have people talking to me all the time, even my business partner. He's very moon boy. He's very like, oh my God, this is pumping. Let's get in. I'm like, no. Let's sit on it. Let's think about it. Let's analyze. Let's let the emotions sit for a second and then reassess whether we get in. Because is this just hype and hopium that you're, getting triggered by? Or is there an actual legitimate reason as to why you think this cryptocurrency could continue to rise another 400-500%? That's what I think I'm quite good at. I'm very good at kind of taking the emotions out of it and being very logical. And that comes from having a very clear idea and a very clear path on how I'm going to be taking profits in the market.
Makes a lot of sense. What will you be looking at when it comes to exiting? Like, what are the top signals, so to speak, that you're scouting for?
There's a couple of things that we look at. Number one is we actually look at the Google trends, which is really interesting. When the worldwide search for crypto gets above 80, that for me is a top signal for altcoins. And that's when I should starting to pull a lot of profits. We also look at on-chain data. We look at the net unrealized profit loss for Bitcoin. And what this is basically every wallet address that has Bitcoin in it right now, we can see what the percentage gain of profit is for each wallet. Usually, when you have over 70% of people in profit, that's a top signal. And we need to be taking profits heavily off the table. So we look at that. And then we also have multiple different exit strategies in terms of looking at the Fibonacci extensions. If you know the Fibonacci, it's like a mathematical algorithm that's created throughout the universe. It's crazy how it connects to financial markets. There's 3 zones, the 1.618, the 2.618, the 3.618. If we were in that second zone, heading to the third zone, like the 3.618, that's a signal for us that we should be getting out as well. And another thing that we look at is, where are we in time period, like time-wise? Are we in, August, September, October of 2025? If we are, and we're in the 2.618, the crypto trends are at 80, the new pool's at 70%, that's when we're going to be like, we need to get out here. We need to really start pulling profits. So those are the main indicators that we look at.
Amazing. Yeah, there's besides that list that you're mentioning, I'm thinking, how much does the greed and fear index play a role? How much does a ranking of Coinbase #1 on the App Store plays a role? How much does it play a role with like YouTube views, or I guess search terms on YouTube as well, besides Google, on like crypto and like these kind of things? All of those indicators together, I guess, is factors to add to your conviction of when to get out of it.
Yeah, if my personal brand starts absolutely popping off and I'm getting like 100,000 views per video, then that's when I'm like, probably need to start taking some profits.
Yeah, totally. Michael Saylor, how much are you following him? And is there anything of what he's saying and that he predicts that you don't agree on?
No, I'm pretty good with what Michael Saylor says. He has a very long term perspective on Bitcoin, which is the same for me. Like, I think Bitcoin is a long term hold. I'm going to be holding Bitcoin for the rest of my life. Bitcoin at one point is going to be worth millions of dollars per coin. I mean, that's basic supply and demand. There's 21 million Bitcoin. If you hold one Bitcoin, that's crazy. You're like 1 in 21 million. To be able to have that is a privilege. So I think, Bitcoin's going to continue to rise in price over the next, 100 years or so. Obviously, we've got a few more Bitcoin halvings left. But once all of the Bitcoin are mined, that's it. So it makes sense that Michael Saylor's buying Bitcoin like no tomorrow. There's a reason why Donald Trump is calling for a Bitcoin reserve for the US Treasury, because Bitcoin could honestly be the thing that could potentially actually fix the US deficit.
I see it very clearly also.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. So I just see the future of what Bitcoin is. And I think Michael Saylor's on top of that. And if you want exposure to crypto without getting into crypto, you might want to buy some MicroStrategy stock.
Yeah. Gave that advice to my dad yesterday.
Really? Yeah. I do that a lot. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get into crypto. It's too risky. I'm like, okay, well, just buy some Coinbase and MicroStrategy stock then.
Precisely. I'm sure you've been thinking about this also. You mentioned fundamentally supply and demand. And we both know that 450 Bitcoins are being mined every day now in supply, added to the supply. What kind of data do you have that we know of how many Bitcoins are being bought daily today? Because MicroStrategy is coming out with like, okay, they have this plan of buying. I think it's like ish on average 500 Bitcoins daily for the next 1,000 days. BlackRock has been buying, depending on what the Bitcoin price is, but like somewhere between 1,300 to 1,500 Bitcoins for the last 3 years as well. We'll probably keep on doing that, if not doubling down even further. So yeah, I guess the question is, 400 Bitcoins are being created every day now. How many do we know of that is being bought? What do you think?
Way more than 450.
Way more, right?
Way more. There's a massive supply crunch. For the first time ever, exchanges have less Bitcoin during a bull market than ever. It's actually going down, the amount of Bitcoin that they have, which is crazy. Like, that never happens in a bull market. So it just shows you that institutions are buying it up like no tomorrow, because the exchanges don't have enough of it to sell to the market, which is insane. So yeah, Bitcoin ETFs are really eating up a lot of the Bitcoin, and there is going to be a huge supply crunch. I mean, it already is happening. You can see the data. There's not enough Bitcoin on the market for everyone now. So there's just this massive demand for it. And that's also why I think the Bitcoin price is going to be insane over the next like 6 to 12 months because of this.
Yeah. I love what you're doing with your personal brand, because you're bringing a lot of awareness to why it is a smart thing to get into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. For the kind of people who's not really paying attention, I have a few friends that I really respect and I like, but sometimes they're not super open-minded to why this is worth paying attention to. And it's a bit of a shame. But what are some, like a few sentences to, why this is not risky anymore? Why this has gotten so much adoption, it will never reverse, and it's truly the future.
Yeah. I always go back to BlackRock, because BlackRock owns the world. They own all of the biggest companies in the entire world. They own Google, Microsoft, Tesla, like all of them.
Yeah.
And the fact is BlackRock has its own Bitcoin spot ETF. And it's also one of the biggest adopted ETFs ever in the last 10 years. There's been so much Bitcoin bought, it's outperformed all the other ETFs that have come onto the markets in the last 10 years. That's insane. And the fact is, if BlackRock are okay with it, and BlackRock are buying it like no tomorrow, the rest of the market should be buying it because they're the leaders. They're the ones that are adopting the best companies in the entire world. Whether you agree with BlackRock owning so much is, another story. But the fact is that they do, and they're really focusing on piling up their Bitcoin reserve. And that's why I think everyone should have a small slice of Bitcoin in their portfolio.
Yeah. Follow the big guys, follow the smart money.
Exactly. There's $30 trillion worth of assets under management that now have the ability to buy Bitcoin. Not saying all of them are, but they have the ability to buy it in a traditional financial way. So it's just going to be adopted slowly over time. Right now is just the beginning. There's still time. There's still time to own a piece of Bitcoin, but there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be extremely difficult to get it, and it's going to be extremely expensive to buy it. Right now, I think 100K Bitcoin is cheap.
Yeah, it is. It is. It will only get more expensive for every year that goes by. This is a hard question, and it's like, no one knows here as well, but the direction of Web3 and blockchain technology. What are some things that you're personally excited about when it comes to the future of Web3 and how that will impact basically the whole world in every single way?
I'm really interested in decentralized finance and giving financial opportunities to everyone throughout the entire world. There's 2/3 of the world that are unbanked. They can't get mortgages, they can't get credit, they don't have ID, they just don't have access to the traditional banking system. But with cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, all you need is a phone and you have complete access to financial wealth. You can go on a lending and borrowing protocol on Uniswap, on Camino, on Aave, whatever you want. And as long as you've got cryptocurrency, you can put it up as collateral and borrow against it. There's no credit check. There's no discrimination. There's no bias. You can get access to wealth digitally, globally, cross-border with no problems whatsoever. That's what really excites me and gives other people opportunities that they may have never had before. So that's what I really love about like blockchain technology and decentralized finance, and the fact that it's all created through blockchain technology and smart contracts with no intermediaries. It's all done through code and programming. There's no manipulation. It's just fascinating. And I just think it's freaking awesome.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's very fascinating. And yeah, super awesome that the world can become a better place in that way with more people getting access to finance. What are some things that you're looking for yourself when it comes to 2025? If we take more the career path, you have your personal brand, you have your business related to these things. Is that where you're looking to keep on focusing on? Or are you having any new projects that you're excited about tapping into later?
Yeah, I think the main thing at the moment is obviously focusing on the coaching program, making sure everyone's getting into the markets, also getting out of the markets, generating life-changing wealth with cryptocurrency. But then after that, it's about capital preservation. So, we really want to continue to teach people about capital preservation, but also teaching people how to create their own cash flowing businesses in preparation for the next bull market. Because what we've realized is, the fiat system is pretty much a scam. Mm-hmm. The governments are printing money out of thin air with no repercussions. It's not backed by anything, which means inflation is going to rise. It means that the supply for goods and services is going to go up. It's going to become extremely more difficult to live a good life because of this. So we need to figure out ways in which we can generate more of this fiat currency. And by doing that is typically by creating your own cash flowing business, utilizing social media, utilizing online money to then take that fiat money and put it back into assets, whether that's real estate, whether that's cryptocurrency, whether that's arbitrage through Airbnb, whatever it is. That's where we really want to kind of like help people, hold their hand, and help them generate that money. But also, I'm really in the thesis that like a lot of money is generated not through skills, but also through mindset. And I also want to help people through what mindset you need to have to really like be successful in business and then be able to handle the emotional crypto markets and the stock markets, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really what I want to do. And we're really thinking about doing that through, masterminds, especially during the bear market. I'd done Luke Belmar's mastermind, obviously, in Bali a couple of months ago. Completely transformational, not just like externally, but transformational internally. And that's helped me become more efficient and a better person and helped me in my business along the way. So I really want to kind of replicate Luke Belmar's model of the mastermind, the capital club, build a community, help people, and then give them the skills, the tools, the mindset to then, create generational wealth like I am right now.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's a great transition also of like, you're tapping onto that of like, why is it so important to create wealth? Because it's tied to freedom and sovereignty and those kind of things. Could you talk to me a little bit more about that? Where, since this podcast is called Deeply Aligned, how creating wealth and preserving wealth can allow one to get a better life in every way there?
Yeah, my perspective on money has changed massively over the last 12 months. I think when you're younger, you think, oh, if I just make a load of money, if I become a millionaire, then I'll be happy. But the money actually has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't. What really makes me happy and where I'm aligned and where I know that I'm in flow with life is I can generate that wealth. And what I really want to do with it is just utilize that money to help other people. That's genuinely what makes me happy, is helping other people, helping, my friends move country, or helping them start their own business and becoming their first client, or just, helping them in any way that I can. When you don't have the stress of money and the stress of, financial burdency, then you're a lot more receptive, a lot more open, a lot more loving, a lot more caring, a lot more compassionate. And that then can help other people become the same. So that's what's really been helpful. And obviously the freedom helps as well. With not having issues with money anymore. I'm completely free to go wherever I want. This is why I live in Bali, because I love it. I don't have to be anywhere else. I'm not tied to another place. And I can travel the world if I want to. I've been to like 7-8 different countries this year just to, discover new cultures and you just have fun. But what really brings me back every single time is, even though I'm traveling the world, I always want to be back in Bali so I can be around my community, be around my people, and make sure that I'm like helping them as much as I can. That's what is really important. And that's what I think making money actually makes you want to do. It just makes you want to help people.
Yeah. No, well said. It comes back to that a lot with community and being able to feel fulfilled from helping people. That's purpose, and that's meaningful, right? It's more than yourself. So yeah, I think you already explained a lot about it, but what does deeply aligned mean to you?
I think deeply aligned means that you're in flow with life. I feel like when I was in the UK and I was in my corporate 9-to-5 and I was trying so hard to make 10 grand a month, it became forceful, it became disingenuous, and it became hard. And that was because I knew that I wasn't aligned and I wasn't in flow with life. The universe was making it difficult for me to be successful, knowing that this wasn't my path. This wasn't the direction that I was meant to go down. As soon as I let go, took space, and let the universe bring the things that was truly meant for me into my life, that's when I became aligned, because the money came like no tomorrow. It became easy. I was working the least I've ever worked and made the most amount of money. And that was because I was in flow with life. I was letting the universe show me where I was meant to go and what I was meant to do and what my purpose was. And my purpose is to, be a mentor, be a teacher, which I didn't know until I let go of all of the other stuff in my life and let the universe showcase to me what I was truly made for. Then I was in flow with life. Then the right people were brought into my life, the right friendships, the right community, the right, place in my life. Bali. I wasn't even meant to be in Bali. I didn't even know I was going to move here. But that's where the universe took me. That's where I felt aligned. So that's what deeply aligned means to me, is just to be in flow with life and let the universe show the way to you. You don't need to know how or why, because I didn't know. Everyone that's like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. But I just let the universe show it to me and stop stressing about it and just almost release myself and let go and trusted that whatever was meant for me was for me. And as soon as I did that, my whole life changed.
Right, what you're saying here, I think is maybe one of the most important things you said in the whole podcast. Of like, yes, take in everything she's saying about crypto and stuff like that. But this is a really great life realization that, to me, from my perspective, has come to you quite early. I mean, for myself, I feel like this happened like 2 years ago-ish, when I came to Bali as well.
Mm-hmm. It's Bali. Just come to Bali. Come to Bali. You'll figure it out.
On that note, so yeah, you're looking to stay here in Bali for the foreseeable future as of now?
Yeah, 100%. I don't see myself anywhere else, at least for the next couple of years. I just fell in love with this paradise. I think it's right up my street. I'm a beach girly. I like the sun. Yeah. But also the gyms are amazing. The community is amazing. It's also cheap. Like, it's cheap to live out here. And you can just live a really great lifestyle. And just live in paradise for not very much money.
Yeah. No, truly, 100%. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like us to touch upon?
I think so. I think, yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything that we've spoken about so far.
I love everything you've been sharing. Thanks really for that.
No,
pleasure having you on. And yeah, looking forward to hang out more here in Bali, in the saunas of the Nirvana gym where we met.
Yes, come to Nirvana. Anyone that's coming to Bali needs to go to Nirvana. It's life-changing. I met all of my friends in Nirvana. It's actually a cult, but like a cult in the best way possible, because it's just full of the best people in the entire world. And the sauna chats are the best chats, I think.
Those are pretty good. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.